You're listening to the Outdoors Channel.
I am witnessing the blossoming of a truly magnificent new form of communication.
It's one small step for man,
reaching out into other worlds.
one giant leap for mankind.
I think it's a splendid idea.
Hello and welcome back to the Outdoors Channel magazine show, where the industry get to talk about their products in more detail for the benefit of the end user. Well, this last week in September saw me loitering with intent at the Good Tent Show in Rugby, where a select handful of tent manufacturers were displaying their wares. While I was there, I spoke to Andrew Nicolson from Jack Wolfskin and Chris Davidson from Vaude. Now, anything you hear on this show, you may wish to comment on or ask us questions or ask us to find out from other people. So make a note of this number and call us. It is 020-8133-9434 and leave a message on there and we'll deal with it or put it into the show or something. Anyway, right, before we chat to Andrew Nicolson about the Jack Wolfskin 2007 tent range, let's get the day started with some morning music from the Podsafe Music Network. Mark Laforme and Good Morning, Mrs. Johnson.
We're extremely optimistic in terms of the marketplace. Jack Wolfskin has perhaps one of the most technically advanced ranges in the marketplace, and we specialise at the top end with a series of tents under the real tunnel technology, uses real tunnel technology system, which is unique. It's a patented system and it's proven to provide significant improvements to stability in high crosswinds, both in family tents and also in tunnel tents in mountain situations.
Well, I know the Jack Wolfskin name is very, very big in the rest of Europe, but has had a bit of a checkered career in the UK. I gather it's really starting to gain ground now, and I'm looking at what sort of 20, 25 odd tents you got here, or is there more than that?
Yes, you're correct in terms of the numbers. We don't produce the largest range by any stretch of the imagination, but Jack Wolfskin absolutely specialises in functional performance fabrics, and that's extended from the largest tents even down to the small one-man bivvy tents like the popular Gossamer tent, which even today still retails under £100, around the £80 mark.
Well, that's the tent we're actually standing in front of at the moment, so tell us some of the key features of this one, if you would.
Well, the Gossamer's got a real following amongst the person who wants to go out and be solo in the mountains, or at a festival situation, or even off the back of a bike or a motorbike. We've got a weight of 1.65 kilograms, but a lot of the fabrics are the same fabrics which are used higher up in the range on more serious mountain tents. So it's a small one-man bivvy tent, but it's got no compromise in terms of the fabric. So for instance, on the floor we're still using a 10,000 millimeter fabric in terms of its water resistant properties, so the person who's staying in that tent overnight is assured of a comfortable and safe night in the hills.
It's a twin skin tent, and certainly the durable fabrics there obviously affect the weight, so you're not going to go down to the super light end, but certainly it's very, very stable with the tunnel technology, and I've seen this used in something like the TGO Challenge, where somebody was going solo, and it took a fair battering and certainly performed very, very well indeed.
Unfortunately, it's not actually designated as one of the full real tunnel tents, but it does take some of the technology that's used in those real tunnel system tents further up the range. It's a popular tent, readily available. Technical information and product specifications are available on the Jack Wolfskin website, and details of stockists are there as well.
Okay, so let's move further along the line here. You were telling me there's some new tents in the range. Would you like to just start the ones in front of us?
Yes, we expect one of the key models for summer 2007, which means the product's available from about February next year, to be the Argon RT. The RT designation shows that it's a real tunnel tent system product. This is a super lightweight, extremely stable in the wind real tunnel tent for one stroke two people with a vestibule. It's very much at the quality end of that larger bivvy market. But you've got the DAC featherlight poles and the polyester ripstop 30D fabric, which again are hallmarks of Jack Wolfskin in terms of the quality and the performance of materials. I noticed you've got a side entrance on these couple of tents we've got in front of us here. Have these proved to be a more popular way of entering and getting in and out of the tents, the traditional head end? Yes, we found them extremely popular because when the tent's pitched, depending on the wind conditions, you've got extra protection there. Also, you've got immediate access to your rucksack or your boots, which may be stored in the hall or the vestibule area. And it's proved to be extremely popular on we know this from the Gossamer tent I mentioned earlier, and I'm sure it'll be equally popular on the Argon tent, where you've got just a little bit more space than you have with the Gossamer for a large rucksack and any other equipment that you might have with you.
And what sort of price is that going to retail for?
This is the Rolls-Royce end of the particular market we're talking about. This will have a retail price of around £200.
Excellent. Well, it's still excellent value, and I can see that the way the pole's configured there, you're actually at the right sort of position to sit up and turn sideways to access your rucksack, as well as get in and out rather than crawl out on your hands and knees.
Yes, you're correct. One of the unique features to the real tunnel tents is the way the poles are configured with a slightly convex pole configuration, and this actually allows more body space or storage space within the tent for the user.
Excellent. So moving up and carrying on with the real tunnel technology, what would you like to show us next?
Now we've got the Tundra 3, which is a continuing range, but it's an extremely popular range. There's a couple of models in the range. These are one of the more compact three-person real tunnel tents, and it's particularly suitable and will be of interest to people operating or going out in sort of northern latitudes. So it's particularly good for conditions like Scotland, Scandinavia, those type of situations. Again, it combines all the real tunnel technology, but one of the benefits of that is that on the side where the tensioning straps are, you have the patented and unique tensioning strap system, which works on a triangular basis, and again this allows much better use of the interior cabin space. So if you've got somebody who's particularly tall, for instance, they've got more headroom in the particular tent, but it doesn't compromise the weight or the performance of the product either.
I see this is I take it this is a three-person tent, is it?
Yes, we have a Tundra 3, which is accommodates two people very comfortably and can take a third person on the mountain, again in considerable comfort. And you've got the Tundra 2, which is its baby brother, which is a comfortable two-man model as well.
Right, staying with the Tundra 3, which is a very, very comfortable tent, and certainly the vestibule area is huge. Do you want to just come down here and come to the doorway and just tell me about some of the key features of it that it shares with the other ones in the range?
It is one of our most popular tents in the range, and the layout is such that you've got a good sized inner cabin with its own fly sheet combination, but you do have this extra large vestibule, which is very popular, particularly in really extreme weather conditions, for getting all your gear inside, and in emergencies can also be used as an additional sleeping area. From a comfort point of view, you've got 2 ventilation ducts, which are very important. You've got the main entrance with a very effective mosquito mesh, which is obviously very welcomed, particularly in parts of Scotland, against the mosquitoes getting in. There's 3 inner pockets for storage. You've got additional loops for clothing line and fixing lamps or lanterns. And the tent rolls up into a very tight compression pack with a total weight of under 5 kilograms, about 4.9 kilograms.
I mean, it's a lovely base camp tent, and you wouldn't call this obviously a lightweight backpacking tent, but certainly if there were several people going and they wanted some comfort, you get an awful lot of comfort here for what sort of retail price?
The retail on the Tundra 3 is extremely competitive at £180, whereas a lot of competitor products you would probably see well over the £200 mark. So this is an exceptional product in terms of performance, the comfort inside the tent, and also the ability, if you're carrying the tent across 2 or 3 people, it's very practical for going out into the wilderness for an extended period of time.
I mean, the vestibule area is certainly plenty big enough. You get a push bike or 2 in there, couldn't you, to actually work on?
Yes, I think you'd have to pack them in fairly carefully, but you could probably get a couple of tents in and plenty of rucksacks and other gear without too many problems.
Excellent. Right, we come away from the backpacking tents. We move further over to the family orientated tents, of which there's quite a few in the Jack Wolfskin range. We're standing in front of the Hacienda now. Why should somebody consider this from a family tent point of view?
Jack Wolfskin don't compromise at all on family tents, so we're very much at the quality end of the market. We could be compared, for instance, it could be said that we're the Volvo of the tent market, in as much that the family who buy the tent know that they're going to get a no compromise situation in terms of the materials and the design, but they're going to get all the comfort factors in terms of the inside of the tent. So, for instance, on the Hacienda, which is a luxurious 5 to 7 person model, there are numerous accommodation options internally, with 2 different sized inner cabins. There's a huge vestibule. The tent can be rigged to form a roofed veranda, and it has no less than 8 ventilation ducts, including a top ventilation system. There are 3 separate entrances, and we have 4 windows in the tent as well. Internally, from a practical point of view, or for the family, for a young family, you've got organiser storage pouches, and you've got numerous loops for washing line and lamp attachment.
So it really is, will stand up to an awful lot of the heavier European weather should your holiday turn against you slightly.
I think that's one of the key points, that you're just not going to get caught out using a Jack Wolfskin real tunnel family tent. Because the technology that's applied to the family tents is the proven technology that's been used in the tunnel tents that are suitable for high mountain and extreme alpine conditions.
Certainly, when you've been on European sites, you see families getting into all sorts of a bother and a tither when they come to pitching their tent and arguing amongst themselves. How easy are these to pitch?
I think I'm quite happy to say that, to put that into perspective, I have a colleague here at the tent show. I got delayed on the M1. He actually pitched 4 of the family tents on his own. So you don't need a group of 3 or 4 people struggling to do that. We don't have the problem of cross poles, which can be difficult to erect in high winds in particular. And you can pitch the tent from one end, and it's a little bit like a concertina, that you can anchor the tent and then roll the tent out fairly easily in a fairly short space of time.
Well, thanks very much, Steve, for your time looking through the range of tents here. It's been fascinating to do that, and thankfully the weather's kept off us. I know the Jack Wolfskin do a whole range of other products, so can you tell us more about where people can find information about those?
Yes, what I would suggest is that people go online at www.jack-wolfskin.com. There's an English version of the international Jack Wolfskin website, and there's a huge amount of information there. There's an online product catalogue and lots of technical information and background information on the brand, as well as all the activities associated with Jack Wolfskin worldwide. There is the ability to order a catalogue online, and in response the consumer would receive a 300-page Jack Wolfskin catalogue, which not only features the tents that we've just talked about, but a very extensive range of outdoor clothing, both for casual and mountaineering use, as well as the footwear and rucksack collections. If they order now, in September, they'll get the Winter 2006 catalogue, and if they repeat the exercise in February, then they would be first to receive the new Summer 2007 catalogue, which will include at that time the tents that we've just talked about.
And presumably there's a list of retailers that are stocking the products as well.
Yes, the back of the catalogue for the first time will include both a retail price list together with a list of key regional stockists across the UK who, in addition to their own shop stock, have access to all Jack Wolfskin products through the use of an internal business-to-business trade link, so they can easily find out availability and arrange orders and deliveries for any product from the collection subject to availability.
Also displaying lots of goodies at the Good Tent Show was Chris Davidson from Vaude, who, as well as having numerous tents on show, also had a stand displaying their interesting range of rucksacks. Of particular interest was the new seam-sealed waterproof sacks, and I asked him to explain the technology behind the Ultra Seam Tech system Vaude were using.
Okay, it's a new technique to form seals on rucksack products. Traditionally, they've obviously been stitch technology, which is fairly common across the industry. But there's numerous advantages to using welding technology to make the seams. Obviously, the first thing is that the welds are waterproof, so the entire rucksack is a waterproof construction. Meaning that you don't have to use a rain hood or an internal dry bag to keep the gear inside dry. It also produces a very neat seam. There isn't a great bulk of overlap and thread and binding tape that's required to secure the seam. It's a very stable seam and very flat, so that means that you don't get abrasion and wear on the seam itself. One of the key things about stitch technology is obviously when you stitch a piece of fabric, you punch a load of holes in it. So in terms of potential tear along the fabric, you're obviously introducing a line of weakness. With welded seam technology, it literally fuses the two pieces of fabric together in a uniform bond. Welding has been used before, generally using what's called ultra-high frequency methods. The drawback with those is that you have to use a two-dimensional structure, a two-dimensional plane. You can't make 3D shapes. And you also have to use quite heavily plasticized fabrics. So it's things like roll-top bicycle panniers that you'll probably be familiar with, have a certain look, a certain fabric to them, and they're basically cubes. The other shapes you can make are cylinders, such as dry bags. What is unique about Vaude's Ultra Seam Tech is that it's using ultrasonic welding, which you can use a three-dimensional seal. So it means that you can make a rucksack that looks like a rucksack and functions in the way that you would use a normal rucksack.
And the actual strength of the seal itself, is it as strong, much stronger than traditional stitching?
It is much stronger than traditional stitching, yes. Because you haven't introduced any weakness into the fabric, the seam is basically, it functions as if it was a uniform piece of fabric. You take two parts, you weld it together, the whole thing works as if it's just one piece of fabric.
And I also presume, looking at these sacks we've got in front of us, because there isn't stitching in there, actually stitching adds weight and the seams that you would require to stitch through to give it the strength. And picking these rucksacks up, they're definitely on the lightweight category, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Quite surprisingly, you can save up to 20% on the weight of the rucksacks, and that's really due to seam binding, traditional seam binding tape, thread. Obviously, and also the overlap. The overlap that you need to make a standard stitch seam stable is really quite considerable. It can be up to 5 or 6 millimetres.
Okay, the actual sacks you've got at the moment, are they available for the 2006 series, or are we into 2007 now?
They're available straight away. We've got 4 in the range for 2006. We've got the Lasona, which is a 25-litre walking sack. We've got the Arakanda, which is a 30-litre mountain walking sack and climbing sack. And we've got 2 crossover running cum cycling sacks, the Ultra Trail 12 and the Ultra Trail 20. For 2007, we're adding a sack called the Tech Rock, 32-litre, and it's a specific cragging sack designed for mountaineering, climbing, and winter use.
Well, certainly I've got that one in front of me here, and it's a very, very elegant looking sack for that sort of activity. And I see that the hip belt is removable as well. Yeah. Any other key features on there?
The back, stitched into the back, there's an ABS plastic sheet, which gives you a very, very stable back, whilst adding very little weight to it. It means that if you're carrying climbing gear and hardware inside there, you're not going to get it digging into your back, despite the fact the back of the rucksack is a very close fit to your back, so it's very stable for you when you're climbing. Other features on it, you've got compression straps at the side. You'll notice that all the accessory points are actually welded in as well, so there's no stitching in the sack anywhere. Climbing packs obviously take quite a lot of hammer, so you need to try and reinforce them wherever you can. And on the base of the sack, there's an extra layer, an extra protective layer, which is thermally welded on as well. So again, no stitching there, and very little extra weight caused by any unnecessary seams. And one of the other wear points is on where the ice axes or walking pole holders are held against the rucksack, and on this pack here you can see that there is printing over the fabric in these areas, and that massively increases the abrasion resistance of the fabric in that area with adding virtually no extra weight to it.
So the final question has to be, what's the availability? When will it be available, and the price point?
Well, this particular one, the Tech Rock, is available February 2007, and it would retail at £65.
Fantastic value for money. It's a good pack, isn't it?
Yeah, it retails around about the same price as any other 35-litre cragging sack would be.
Okay, again, looking at the sacks we've got in front of us here, which seem to be countless, anything specifically unique for the 2007 introduction that you think is going to prove to be very popular on either the smaller packs or the larger trekking packs?
Yeah, one of the key things is in every category we now have a specific woman's rucksack. Very, very important part of the market, and one that's been overlooked by quite a lot of manufacturers up to this point, really. Women have a very specific fit from men. Obviously, body shape is very different, and especially important when you're carrying loads. So in every category there's a women's rucksack. There's a backpacking sack, day walking sack, cycling, and an alpine sack as well. We did a lot of work with focus groups to see exactly what women wanted from rucksacks, and quite a lot of interesting points came up. For example, all of the women's packs are lined with very pale coloured fabrics, so it's easy to see what's inside there. So it's not a great sort of dark rucksack where you're hunting around for what you want to find. We also find that the focus groups came up with the requirement for lots of pockets, lots of organiser pockets where you could put the things that you need. And there's a very distinctive look running through the range as well, with a nice colour palette and a distinctive range identifier, which is the embroidery that you can see.
Yeah, and there's certainly the colours. They're not patronising women's range colours. That you can moved away from the pinks.
No, there's not. No, you won't find too many girly pinks really. It's the colours are nice. There's mocha. There's a sort of a pale sea blue and linden green, which is this green colour here. So the look is good. It's a very coordinated look as well.
Excellent. Well, let's just step outside for a second and have a look at the tent range, because I believe there's been 1 or 2 developments on that.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, we step outside in the sunshine again, which is a lovely, glorious day. It's nice to be outside. And I'm surrounded by the entire 17 UK tents that the Vaude are distributing in the UK, which is a glorious spectacle, because it's everything from a very compact, lightweight tent right through to a massive family party tent by the looks of it. So let's start right at the super lightweight end. Tell me about what we're standing in front of here.
Okay, this is called the Hogan Ultralight Argon, which is one of the lightest tents that we make. It's a 1 to 2 person size tent. You can get 2 people in. It's a bit of a squeeze, but if you're using it for mountain marathon, an event use like that, you'll find that you can get 2 people in for a couple of nights. The weight, and that includes, if this is the maximum weight, including everything, all the pegs, bags and everything, is 1.49 kilograms. So really quite lightweight for a tent that is a proper stable tent structure. Now the other thing that's unique about this, and this really is unique in the market, is that it has fully taped seams. Now taped seams have been available on standard weight tents for quite a while, but because this is using a silicon elastomer fabric with a very, very fine 40 denier nylon face fabric, you can't use the traditional hot taping techniques where the adhesive on the tape is melted by hot air, because it'll simply melt the fabric. So what Vaude have developed is a cold taping technique, which uses a specially developed silicon glue, which is bonded with the tape, which is applied cold. So you end up with maximum weather protection and minimum weight.
Fantastic. And that's available how many different colours?
Well, it's just in this colour. It's a dark orange with red trim. And that is a product that's available straight away.
Okay, well let's move a bit further along the line then to something with a little bit more space to it. What would you like to show us now?
Okay, well this is our best-selling tent in the UK, so a very, very important style for us. It's won a lot of awards. It regularly wins awards in Trail Magazine and TGO. It's won Best in Test in Trail Magazine a couple of years ago. It's called the Taurus Ultralight, and the thing about this one is that there's no compromise on this at all on space. It's a full-size 2-person tent, but the weight is 1.95 kilograms, so less than a kilogram each. It's unusual in that it's a simultaneous pitching tent, which for this weight is really quite unique. It means that the poles are attached to the fly sheet, and once you've inserted them and tensioned them up, the whole thing's pitched. Doesn't mean that you're pitching the inner first, which the danger with that is if it's raining, obviously the inner gets wet before you get the tent pitched. But key points for this for 2007 is that we've added 2 small stitched-in poles into the fly sheet at the foot, and the reason for that is to increase the foot space and the internal space in the tent, but also very significantly that dramatically increases the stability. In very lightweight tents there can be a bit of a trade-off between stability and weight, but with negligible increase in weight we've been able to solve that problem in this case.
Well, it's certainly blowing a fair gale here, and it's in rock solid at the moment. Well, can you just tell us the price point on that one and the price point on the previous tent?
Sure. The Taurus Ultralight is £220 retail. The Hogan Ultralight, which is our taped ultra lightweight tent, is £230. There is actually a version of the Hogan Ultralight which doesn't have the cold tape technology, which retails at £200. Same weight, 1.5.
Oh, it's worthwhile having the tape. Well, moving further along the line now, you're saying there was something specifically of interest to the cycle tourers.
Yes, yeah, this is quite an important tent for us. This is called the Hogan XT. The Hogan is a name that a lot of people will recognise because it's been a tent in our range for probably about 18 years now. This is simply an extended version of it. There's an extra pole added to the tent, giving you quite a big vestibule area. This is important, especially in the UK. If you imagine that you're backpacking and it's a tipping down with rain, you get to your campsite, you need to get out of your wet clothes and get yourself sorted out. You do tend to need a little bit of extra space. Also, if you're cycling, mountain biking, cycle touring, it's good to be able to get changed in the dry and the comfort. This tent, in actual fact, the extended area is big enough to put 2 bikes in. So there's also a security issue there where your bikes can be tucked away out of sight. So if you're going touring or sightseeing on foot, you can be sure they'll be there when you get back.
I see it's got the suspended tension system going all around the outside, tradition to the sort of Vaude range. I take it that is there all the time. You're not having to weave that through a tent before you pitch it.
No. It's one of the great things about this system, which is, you're right, it is unique to Vaude, is the speed and the ease with which you pitch it, with which you pitch the tent. The external frame, it's all one piece, so all the poles are joined together, so you don't have to think about which pole goes where. You just assemble the external frame. The fabric is connected to the pole by a pin at the corner. You lift the fabric up using the hooks, and then you simply take the elastic and put it over the top of the pole and clip it onto the little hook.
Oh, it's as simple as that?
It's really very, very easy. You just simply clip it on, like so.
Oh, excellent.
A number of advantages to that. It means that there aren't pole sleeves where you can get wear and tear when you're putting the poles in and out all the time. It also gives a really stable pitch. You can see, if you look at the tent, there's an even tension across the entirety of the tent. So a very, very taut tent.
Yeah.
It's like a drum.
Yeah.
And it also makes it stable in the wind, because you've got the give of the poles, but you can see when a gust comes along, you've got a little bit of give in the elastic as well. So it's a nicer place to be if it's really windy.
Excellent. Well, as we are standing next to the larger sort of family-based tents, I wonder if you could just tell us about one particular one which you're particularly proud of.
Okay. It's a relatively new area for us, the family tents. Our heritage is in lightweight backpacking and mountain tents. So, but we've found that there's a lot of people who've grown up with the Vaude brand, and now that they've got children, they want to stick with the quality and performance that they used to. But I think if you look across, when a gust of wind comes along, you'll see what we've been able to do with these. The range is called the Badawi range, and it's based on a sort of semi-geodesic design of poles, where the poles cross over each other to form a locked structure. A lot of other people use sort of extra large tunnel tent designs to make family tents from, and the difficulty with that is the stability of them when it's windy. You can see that some of these tunnel tents here are moving around quite a lot. Ours are very stable structures, and that's really what you're buying with a Vaude product. It's the experience and the technology from the mountain sector that we've been able to apply to the family sector.
So are all the family tents sort of this star shape, giving you this centre area to sort yourself out?
Yes, yeah. This is the Badawi range. There's three different versions of it. There's a standard Badawi. There's the Badawi long, which is
just how many people?
This one will sleep. It'll sleep 4 adults, or obviously 2 adults and 3 children. Okay. That's the Badawi. The Badawi long has got extended sleeping cabins, which will take 3 adults in each. And then the one on the end there, the really big one, is the Badawi 2, which has got 3 sleeping cabins, which will take, arguably up to 9 people.
And the sort of price point of each of those?
450 for the Badawi, going up in £50 jumps, so 450, the Badawi long's 500, and the Badawi 2's 550.
And once again, are these available now or next year?
These are all available now, yes. And we are seeing a great increase in interest in these. The quality end of the family camping market is a very significant one for us now.
Well, thanks very much for your time then, Chris. That's fabulous. What does 2007, which particular area of the marketplace, as a matter of interest, is actually moving well for you in the three? There's the clothing, the rucksacks and the tents.
It's looking quite positive, really. I have to say that the turnover in 2006 is currently about 15% ahead of last year. But the great growth that we can see this year and forward orders for next year is on rucksacks. We really seem to be taking a lot of market share there, and it's through the technology that we talked about, but also the value for money aspect of the range as well, and the tent range is looking very strong, as we've discussed. The family side is developing very nicely for next year. 2007 is looking pretty good, really.
Excellent. Well, I hope it stays sunshining, warm and pleasant for all of us for 2007 as well. The final question would be, if somebody wants more information, where can they get it from?
Very easy. If they go to our website, which is www.vaude.co.uk, you can access a lot of information there. There's gear test reviews, there's stockist information, and there's also a link through to vaude.com, which has full gear product listings of the entire Vaude range. Or they can give us a ring. The office number is 01665 510 660, and we'd be delighted to send out a free colour catalogue.
My thanks go to Chris and Andrew for taking the time to chat to me about their products. Now, following feedback on our comments line from a listener, that number again, 020 8133 9434, he asked if I could ask Terra Nova, who was also at the show, for an interview to explain how to correctly pitch the competition and the laser light range of tents. Good idea, I thought. However, sadly, they declined any kind of interview. Well, that brings us to the end of another show. Playing us out is C.J. Chinia from Alligator Records. This is Podcast Bob saying, turn around and say goodbye.
Podcast is produced and hosted by The Outdoors Channel. Find out how easy it is to subscribe to all our podcasts by visiting theoutdoorschannel.co.uk.